All right, Big Dizzle, it's time for another Deathpiles and Taxes. How you been doing, my friend?
I've been doing good. I've been doing all right.
Supposed to say any better than I'd be Jimmy McKnight.
I guess better than I deserve or whatever. If there's more, it'd be two of me or something. I don't know.
Tax time's always a good time to have a lot of kids. That's all I can say. Those kids are worth a lot of money one day a year, and it's usually on April 15th.
No comment.
Okay, well,
no comment.
I don't know. I just had a guy in the other day, and we got talking about that, and it's always funny, because people, especially younger guys, are like, well, what do I have to do to, avoid paying taxes? And I'm like, well, you can get married and have kids. And they're usually like, oh, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm like, well, that's about all you can do right now. So that's usually my suggestion. Who people
don't
like
even
to
gotta get married. I mean, technically,
that's
kids,
true. Right? I will tell you one thing though. You cannot claim your girlfriend's kid unless it's biologically yours or you have adopted a child. That's how you can claim that child. Niece, nephew, if you are providing more than half of the support for the year, yes. But the child has to be some kind of a relation to you or in a formal foster care in order for you to claim that child.
All right.
That's a tangent. I had that same exact situation several years ago with a client, and, he said it was his daughter, but come to find out it wasn't really. I mean, it was his daughter, but not biologically. He'd raised her from nothing, from a young child. But the IRS doesn't care. The IRS only cares about things that actually happened, not things that may or may not happen. So I don't know how we got started on that, Derek. But there.
I don't know. I was gonna do something a little controversial.
Oh, kids are always controversial.
That wasn't where I was starting off. But right. I got this is gonna come back to haunt me because we're on the air.
Uh-oh.
I got that grenade gum I was gonna let you try.
Oh boy.
And you'll try anything once. I know you kind of have some congestion and stuff, so I wanted to give you this and have you give her a chomp.
Derek,
have you tried these before?
So what I tell my kids is when your friends give you questionable pills, you don't just take them. But I guess we'll give this a try.
It's not a pill. Chew it.
Okay, you chew it.
You've been having some issues with your being stuffed up and stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is called a grenade. This can clear you up.
It's quite.
I know this is great audio.
It's quite minty. It's got very. I don't know what it is, but man, that's strong. Yeah, that's definitely something, Derek.
We'll keep now. You'll be minty fresh. Your sinuses will be clean.
I won't be able. Oh, holy! Wow! Whoa! I have never experienced a gum like that before, Derek. That's quite good.
You'll be good to go for the podcast.
Well, I hope so. I hope that didn't cross too bad. But man, I feel I don't know. If I have a heart attack, it's all because of the grenade gum, D. Right?
Now I need to get with the people at Grenades to see if the sponsors see. That's how I do it.
Wow. I mean, that's the old kick in the face. Let's just say that.
So now I know you'll be tuning it the whole show, which people probably will or won't like, but you'll be doing better. Your sinuses will be cleared, and you'll be loose and limber, man. Now you're awake.
Wow. It's like some form of the magic juices that you sell. Is that where you got it from?
No, this is a legit. This is legit. You can buy...
allegedly legit.
Yeah, you can buy it online, or you can buy it. My brother gave me some for my birthday.
Okay.
I'd given him some before. You can get it down at the Mavericks or gas stations and stuff.
Yeah, you did just join the old the 40 Uno club.
I did. I'm Ounce.
You're Ounce?
Ounce of Ounce.
Okay. 41 is what we like to say in the Espanole.
Yeah, either way, I'm 1 year older than I was last time we recorded, maybe.
Yes, you are. So, Derek, we're getting in springtime, allegedly. We'll see if the snow ever melts. It's yardie season again, I had a really good conversation with one of my clients the other day, and they own a really unique train store. These retail places, they sell stuff online, but an actual brick and mortar, they're, becoming less and less. One of their competitors retired, so there's less store. There's like one here in Utah County and one up in Salt Lake County. But they say people come in all the time with, trust or estates or, dad or grandpa died and they want to know what they think. So what I'm getting back at is these yard sales that are coming up, there's going to be people's death piles. You know, that's the name of the show, Derek, but for our new listener, why don't you fill us in on what is a death pile?
Well, here we are all over the place, controversial today.
Yes.
Well, you know, some people like to call them life piles. Some people like to call them profit piles. It was a term. There was an old podcast that's no longer running that was called Scavenger Life, and it was a guy and a couple that lived back in Virginia that were kind of the OGs of podcasts in the resale world, as far as I know, as far as I've been aware. And they would go around and do kind of what we talked about, but they were doing it full time, and that was their living. They were kind of going off the grid, and they termed it death piles.
Okay.
So when you have a bunch of things that you've scavenged, is what they'd call it when you source things. So I go and buy boxes of baseball cards that are just sitting in a closet. That's the word I couldn't think of. A closet, and it's not because I'm just going to let them sit there for 20 years and hope they go up in value and appreciate, but it's because I just haven't got around to listing it. Or I go to the thrift store and I buy a bunch of T-shirts and stuff, and they're just sitting on a pile of the room, and they start to grow and grow and grow. That was called a death pile because it's a funny name, right?
Yeah, it is a good name.
And on top of that, if it's not listed, it's not bringing you any profit. It's just death. It's just sitting there. It's nothing. Some of it could be because you're going to estate sales or that kind of thing where people passed away and you're buying their stuff as well. It was enough of a term that was associated with these people when we started the podcast. I reached out and talked with them to make sure that I wasn't infringing on anybody's toes or stealing anyone's gimmicks, as it were. Trying to be polite with the people and anyways, we received the blessing to use Death Piles. They thought it was a great name, and I haven't talked to them in a long time, but maybe that's something I should do. Just see where they're at, and maybe, I don't know. I don't want to promise a guest or whatever. I don't know if they do interviews or want to.
Who knows?
We haven't done an interview in a long time.
I hope they're still with us.
Oh, they're still with us. They're about our age. They're pretty young kids.
Okay.
They kind of got out of they still resell and stuff. I've kept up with them enough to know they still do that. They just don't do the podcast because it takes time to do a podcast and whatever. They bought a coffee business.
Coffee
on a street where they live back in Virginia.
Okay.
In a small town. They kind of had this smaller rural town, kind of like what we've done to some extent. But they went and bought into a business and started doing that too. So just everything takes time. You know how that is.
It's a slow burn. That's all I know.
So long and short of it, Death Pile is all your stuff that you got to sell that you haven't put up for sale.
That's again, the people that are in the resale business. The other business, and like I said, it's just a fact of life, and you can pretend to ignore it, but we're all going to die, and people have to do something with your stuff because usually, your house might get sold or somebody else will move into it. Things that you might have treasured might not be, as important to someone else. And in a lot of situations, people just try to clean it up or they'll try and resell it. And that's what happens at like these estate sales. And if you have a certain, genre of product, you want to bring in an expert. Somebody will say, hey, might be worth X amount of dollars. Or, stuff is interesting because we all have stuff. I think that's the one thing we've established here in the United States of Americas. We have I would say a problem with stuff. We all have a lot of stuff that we don't need. And it's just kind of what's happened in society. And now there's a big push to declutterize and, move some things out and try to get simple, which I'm on boat. I agree to some extent, but the other point too, like I like my stuff.
I like that's the thing. Everyone likes their stuff. It's everybody else's stuff that bugs you.
Yeah. I mean, I like my stuff. I got some old stuff here in my office, some decorations. It makes it feel a little more homey, a little more inviting. And I think that's what people, come when they get in my office, they feel a sense of, hey, this is who this guy is. I have lots and lots of questions or requests about people wanting to know about the flag that I have here in my office. I'm patriotic, love my country. I know we're the greatest place in the entire world. But there's an American flag that my great grandfather, it is his flag, and it was pre-Alaska and Hawaii. And we've got it displayed here in the office, and it's got 48 stars. So that's one of the stuff that I have that I really like it. I'm taking some pride behind it. We had it matted and framed, and that's one of the stuff like I like. It would be, if somebody told me like that's gone, I would have a hard time getting rid of it. Who knows, when I die, my kids might not really care, but I hope that someone else does, because it's a pretty cool piece of memorabilia. And
that's the game in the resale world, is find stuff that you like that you can pass to somebody else with a little knowledge. Usually, I mean, I guess you don't always have to like it. You can just sell stuff that is valuable, but it's a lot more.
It's funner.
It's funner if you're into it.
Yeah.
You could go research and find something, and then it's just kind of like a task or a job where you're selling, robot parts to widgets for gadgets for cash or whatever. But if you're, we've got into sports cards. We talk a lot about that. There's other things you get into, but people got hobbies, like you're saying, trains and all sorts of different things. If you're into it and knowledgeable, and then you go find stuff that is worth money that you can put towards your own collection or towards whatever your goal is, it makes it a lot funner if it's something that you find that you've done. Oh man, this is cool because it's got 48 stars on it instead of 50, or stuff that somebody might just look at and say, oh, that's an old flag, and think nothing of. Somebody else comes and says, oh, that's only got 48 stars, or that's whatever version of the flag, and that's valuable because of this. Mm-hmm. And you go sell to other people that find that interesting as much as you do.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing. A lot of people get into selling, and we all got to start somewhere, but a lot of people will go to these online, whether it's a Facebook or a Reddit or somewhere online, and say, hey, I got this, what's it worth? And everybody gives that person a hard time because they're like, well, figure it out for yourself, basically, right? If you kind of know going into it because you're a collector or because you bought things, hey, what's this worth? Well, I know how to figure that out because I've bought these, or I've been involved with these before, or I know kind of a guideline anyways of, is this worth $10 to $20, or is it worth $1,000 to $2,000? I mean, there's big range there. And if you put the 2,000 thing up for $20, it sells really fast, but you leave a lot of meat on the table. And if you do the opposite of that, it never sells because you're asking way too much for it, and you just build and build and build. So,
I think the moral of the story, and what I want to get into, is we talk a lot about educating yourself, improving, what you're learning, what you know. And I always talk about this. I talked about when I taught a class at our Utah Valley University, who are in the NIT finals right now. Hopefully they go all the way. Not that the NIT means a lot, but
National Invitational is the original tourney.
It is the original.
Are you going down to Vegas for it?
I am not going down. I think they're playing tonight. Not going down to Vegas.
Well, not.
No, it's Tuesday.
Final four.
Yeah, not going down for that.
You can still make it for the finals.
I could. But anyways, I got to teach a class at college, and
I sure could.
Derek was one of our spotlight speakers, and it was really good because, we talk the real world, and not saying that all places of formal education, university levels don't do that, but from my experience, a lot of them didn't, and I think that's what really the key is, especially now. Just because you have a piece of paper that says you're smart and you have a degree in, whatever it might be, the fine arts or, secondary education or accounting or business management, those are great. But the real world is you got to have a degree in figure-outitiveness. That's kind of what I like to say. It is, if you can learn to research something, that's the greatest skill you can ever have. Because the internet is full of information. And then you also have to distinguish whether it's good information or bad information. Can I share a little story?
Please.
I'm going to share a little story. Because my wife she's always fascinated by what I can know. She does a lot of stuff on the internet too. She can find things out about people. And so a couple weeks ago, there was an accident on the freeway. We talked earlier about, first favorite Brian. There was an accident on the freeway on a Sunday. And, didn't really think much of it, but there was a fatality. It was down, going between our house and Mona. And my wife called me and told me, and luckily she had gotten off the freeway. But a couple hours later, I saw the story on the news, and it was a white Tesla. And I knew the day before, Brian, friend of the show, he had just bought a white Tesla. So I start freaking out. I'm like, holy cow, because I know they've got family down south. They could have very easily gone down the road. It was snowing. It was really slick. So who knows? So I did my frantic search. I texted him, and it was probably about 10:30, and I didn't hear anything back. So then I'm starting like, oh my goodness. I was able to pull out and find online the police dispatch stuff. And I was able to download it and listen to it. And, I kind of got some information, didn't have names. I called a friend who is a police officer. He couldn't really give me some information. But I was able to find some information that my wife didn't know existed. And luckily it wasn't them. Found out the next morning. But I was able to find out information in an instant that she didn't even know existed. And whether it's for that specific purpose, which was just learning something, or anything else, that's what you really have to. You got to learn how to find stuff. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, you're a cyber stalker. Is what I'm learning is the cyber PI you can be.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, going back to the last episode, that Chat GPT is going to find you. Like,
I got to watch my steps around you.
Whatever you do, they're going to know exactly what you're doing. So be careful online, D-Roy.
Be careful, but yeah, no, I think you're onto something there. I mean, it's good to go get the education and stuff, but you usually learn this is how it works, and it's always in a best case scenario. Everything's always perfect conditions, and everything's always great. And then you get thrown out to the real world, and it's not usually that way. I mean, things aren't usually at peak performance. You don't start a business and everything runs as it should.
No,
as it on paper as it would. You don't. There's just a lot of variables in life just to begin with of people you got to interact with family members, with different people have different personalities. It doesn't make people bad, but sometimes people don't mesh. They both want the same goal, but I want to get it this way. They want to get it that way. Communication, all these kind of things that they don't really teach you all this in school. From what I've seen, I guess I don't really know. I'm speaking out of school my own self, but you'll see people that come in with their high degree and they get hired on and they're going to be the new leadership team, or they're going to be the new CEO management or whatever in these companies. And sometimes they can adapt and they can go really well and make things happen. And other times things just kind of crash and burn and, they last a couple of years and they flame out. And I think a lot of that is just, you get the piece of paper and you learn things. I mean, obviously they show you a few shortcuts of, hey, this is how, profit and loss works. This is how whatever these things are, you're going in, you're learning skills, but to be able to put them in everyday real world scenarios and adapt with people that might not be as smart as you, might be as smart as you, but not have the piece of paper. So you kind of have an arrogance, or they kind of have a complex against you, or, the owner's son, or the owner themselves, or you're publicly traded, or there's just a million different things that they can't encompass in a couple hour class every day. So you get out and you got to figure it out. And like you're saying, if people are resourceful, or if you have the knowledge to try to figure things out, and you find out those resources and actually develop those skills, you can go a lot further in life. Just keeping that in mind and trying to figure out how things work versus this is how the book tells me it should work.
Yes.
And it doesn't, and then you just don't know what to do.
I think that's a lot of it too, is you always try to forecast. You're trying to look and see what the next thing is going to be. Because if you're going off of the past, that's great. You need to know what you've done, but you need to know what you're going to do. And I think that's the same thing. I mean, with trends of what's selling online, if you stay, not in the current, you're still selling on half.com. You're not keeping up with what's going to change. And, there's going to be a lot of different ways to improve the way that you list. I mean, we always talk about buying stuff is always fun, but selling stuff is fun, but it takes the work to list it to get it sold. And, there's just a lot of steps that go into whatever it is, whether it's selling online, whether it's, working as a doctor. I mean, the only way to get experience is to do something.
Yeah.
And that's what it really takes, is it takes you learning how to do it. We were just talking about it here. I mean, I've had my business. I've been doing it for 16 years. And it's really kind of, dialed in the last 3 years. It's taken a lot of time. We've talked about it before. The overnight success has usually put years and years and years in to become that overnight success. It's not like you flip a switch and you make it happen. It just takes time.
Yeah, I think we were talking to Jim Harold about that. He has tons of podcasts. Some have made it, some haven't. He's got millions of downloads, and some people just think that, he came in on the scene and he started telling us scary ghost stories or whatever he's doing, and top of the charts. But he was able to tell us, that's not how it was. I mean, there were, years where he was going from his full-time job to doing that, to trying to edit all night, not really sleeping.
Yeah.
And now he's making a living at it. I don't know. I don't know what he's making, but he's at least doing it full-time, and that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And the same with a lot of people. There's a lot of people that, we go back to when we were talking to our buddy Phil.
Yeah.
He was, selling cards at these fairs and stuff, and he was sleeping on the ground. I mean, I don't know how old he was at the time, but probably in his 50s.
Oh, yeah, he was.
And, he's sleeping outside at these fairs and things and waking up in the morning and selling cards. Now he's got him a shop where he does it. And even at that, he gets a couple days off a week, but he's hard at work. I mean, he's a great guy, and he's doing what he loves and what he wants to do, but he's putting in the hours and doing it, and he's very successful at it around these parts. He's well known.
Yes, he is.
It's the same with anything. There's the overnight success. Yeah, usually, whether it's sports or somebody that's in the entertainment field, they usually start when they're kids, and to get to the point of in their 20s or something where they're the new fresh face. Well, they've been doing it for 15 plus years.
Yep.
It's just how it is, and that's the same with a business, I'm sure. If you did have the success overnight that some of these places have, you'd crash. You don't have the infrastructure. You don't have the experience. When you're getting started selling online, you're going to start, and that's why eBay puts limits and stuff on new sellers that, you can't put too much up for sale because you don't have that track record. They don't know if you're going to ship on time. They don't know if you're actually going to send the item that you're supposed to be sending. There's procedures in place, and as you grow, you can get bigger, you can expand your inventory, and, such is life. And then you can branch off to different places online because maybe you want to grow that way. It's just, you just got to get those feet wet and get going.
You got to learn. And see, even while we're talking about, I just got a text, telling me about the Tesla. So he knows the internet is connected to everywhere. So
well, this is something, Adam, and I want to throw this out here and get your thoughts on it. We've talked about this AI and stuff, and all that's coming, and we all know that we don't like to list as much, but you got to do it. And you got to get your flow and stuff down. But I perceive a day, and I know we didn't really talk about, but me and you went into a business venture at one point. I don't know what we can and can't really discuss, so I don't want to get us in trouble. But we were talking with a company, and long and the short of it was they were going to list items just with pictures, and a lot of that was coming from AI.
Yes.
And they we
get a couple years ago.
We'd get a percentage of it. It was pretty good, just didn't end up working out for various reasons. I think with that technology and what we're seeing now with Chat GTP and different things, there's that's the big popular one, but there's a lot of
Jasper and AI.
There's a lot of different AI tools.
Yeah.
There's going to be, and I'm not going to be the one that develops it, but somebody will. There's going to be a thing that you can take a picture and it will make a listing for you.
Absolutely.
And it will fill out all the things, and then you just got to take your pictures. It will know what it is. It will describe it.
Yep.
It'll probably do measurements and all that for you, and then you'll sell it. So
I love it.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm not going to be the one to do it. I just know I'm not going to be the one that does it.
Yeah.
But I do see that coming. So a lot of these things that you don't like to do are going to be able to be manufactured out for a fee. Somebody else will do them for you. So imagine that world in the next 5 to 10 years where you probably don't even have to take the picture. You probably just automatically have it done.
Yep.
But you'll take a picture at wherever you're buying the thing. It'll say, is this what this is? And you'll say yes. And it will auto-fill out everything for you.
I like it.
And you'll just go, it'll be listed on eBay, Mercari, Etsy, wherever you're at. It'll just, it'll do that for you. I think that's not probably a crazy thought.
Derek, you're always on top of things.
And I know that the technology's there because of that company we were dealing with a few years ago, and they had interactions with eBay that's using some of this technology.
Yep.
So it's already out there. It's just getting it specified and dialed in to know exactly what things are.
Yep, just figuring it out. So, well, Derek, you're always full of energy. You're always full of knowledge. But that being said, my friend, there are two things in life that are for certain, and that would be...
Hey, first off, that gum's still good. Still got the flavor going.
That gum is still good.
Deathpiles in Texas.
Well within our rights to use this song. We're aware that preaching copyright is wrong. With lots of dedication